Hey, what's going on, guys? So we have a lot of good news today. We've got Tom Lee coming out bullish for Ethereum. We have some really bullish Robinhood news. Let's go ahead and take a look here, see how all this ties in. So Wall Street strategist Tom Lee is aiming to create a MicroStrategy of Ethereum. Now, this is getting interesting because we have multiple MicroStrategies of Ethereum. We also have SBET with Joe Lubin, co-founder of Ethereum, leading the charge there. So we're seeing a trend emerge where there are a lot of companies wanting to add Ethereum as a treasury asset, and Tom Lee gets into that here. So let's go ahead and finish this up. So Tom Lee has been appointed chairman of the board of directors for Bitcoin miner Bitmain Immersion Technologies effective Monday. Bitmain announced a $250 million private placement to implement a buying strategy around ETH, which aims to make it its primary treasury reserve asset. Lee's appointment comes amid a groundwell of interest from traditional financial institutions around stablecoins, many of which run on the Ethereum network. So we're going to go ahead and take a look here at a video of Tom Lee, see what he has to say.
Joining us right now is Fundstrat's Tom Lee. He's also a CNBC contributor. And this morning, he's got some news. Bitcoin miner Bitmain Immersion Technologies announcing that Tom will become its chairman. Tom, welcome, first of all. And this is some big news. It's kind of complicated, but probably suffice to say that you all are doing basically what MicroStrategy did with Ether. You're going to make Ether the purchases that you buy through this. You're going to set this whole thing up like this. You want to explain a little bit?
Yeah, glad to. I'm still a big fan of Bitcoin because I think it is, digital gold. But what we've seen in the last, really in 2025 is the financial services industry and crypto are converging. And it really started with stablecoins, which is the ChatGPT of crypto, right? Because it's viral adoption by consumers, businesses, banks, and now even Visa. Underneath the stablecoin industry is Ethereum. That is really like the backbone and architecture of stablecoins. So it's important to create a project that essentially accumulates Ethereum to essentially protect and have some influence on the network. So that's why we're creating.
And now this is a point that I had previously made, how as the world's global financial system is rebuilt on top of Ethereum, as we're seeing with JPMorgan, they're starting to build on Ethereum. We're seeing Robinhood, which we're going to get into later into the video. They're launching their own layer 2, building on Ethereum. And so what I believe is going to happen, and what Tom Lee believes is going to happen, is that companies, world governments, as world governments issue their debt, their bonds onto Ethereum, what's going to end up happening is you're going to have this dynamic where everyone involved is incentivized to hold ETH, stake ETH, earn rewards, hold it as a treasury reserve asset to keep it sufficiently secure and decentralized because of this proof of stake mechanics. But let's go ahead and listen to the rest of what Tom has to say.
This treasury vehicle to buy Ethereum, the more Ethereum that's accumulated, the more secure the network is. And I think it's also sort of the architecture that future banks will have. When Goldman issues a stablecoin and JPMorgan doing it on Ethereum, as a layer 1 blockchain, they're going to want to secure it by staking Ethereum. So we're trying to get in front of that by creating a treasury vehicle.
And just so I understand, it's safer if you own more of it. Explain why that would be.
Well,
and so think about that. What he's doing is he's saying that, hey, we're recognizing that JPMorgan and all these other financial institutions are going to want to hold ETH as a treasury reserve asset. And so basically what he's saying here is that he is front running them all by starting this treasury.
Ethereum is a proof of stake network.
Right.
So unlike Bitcoin, which is proof of work and miners do all the work for you, and that's why you have decentralized trust, in Ethereum, it's important for these entities to essentially validate transactions. So by becoming a staking entity, you're sort of securing the fidelity of stablecoins. So you don't want a stablecoin like USDC or USDT to be on a blockchain that's outside the purview of the US. And so I think Ethereum is a high quality, the second largest blockchain network, and it's over 51% of stablecoins, and
right.
30% of all fees on Ethereum are actually stablecoin revenue.
So we even have the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, talking about how stablecoins could be very positive. He likes them, likes to see what's there. But you're basically saying with this, we've also seen what happened with Circle, the stablecoin issue,
yes.
Huge run up after their IPO. So you're basically saying that This is the new Bitcoin you're getting in at a very early stage.
Correct.
I really like that. This is the new Bitcoin you're getting in a very early stage. I really like that line. That was a good one.
That's right. Because let's say stablecoins, which is $250 billion today, gets to Treasury Secretary Besant's reasonable $2 trillion. That's a 10 times increase in size. By the way, already stablecoins are the 12th largest holder of treasuries. They'll become the number one holder by then. US dollar dominance is 27% in GDP terms. It's 57% of central bank reserves. It's 80% of financial trading transactions. It's 100% of stablecoin denomination. So by getting to $2 trillion, you're ensuring dollar dominance. This is very good for the US, but $2 trillion of stablecoins is a lot of network fees for Ethereum.
So Bitmain Immersion, what you're doing is a $250 million private placement, which is all going to be put into...
Yes, that's right. We created a carefully curated list of investors to bet on this. If you look at the press release, it is the blue chip, both in the financial world and in the crypto world. We have
Founders Fund, Kraken, Galaxy Digital.
Yep, Pantera. Yeah, so these are in the crypto world, and these are like sort of the...
So you basically get the idea. This is a huge paradigm shift that we're about to go through, where we are going to see this adopted as a treasury reserve asset like nothing we've ever seen before. So moving on to Watcher.guru, just in, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent says that he's ready to replace Fed Chair Jerome Powell if the President Trump wants him to. Now, I will say this because there are some rumors swirling around that they're going to remove Powell early. To my knowledge, they do not have the authority to do that. Now, that doesn't mean that something couldn't happen to cause it. I think that would be bad for markets because that would be an unprecedented event, and that would put a lot of fear into the market. So I hope that there isn't some sort of a sketchy scenario where Powell is removed. So what I think most likely is a scenario here is that Bessent would replace Powell once his term is up.
I will do it.
While we're talking about interest rates and the Federal Reserve, it has been recently reported that you might be in consideration for the job as the next Fed chair. When you've been asked about the likelihood recently, you said that it's up to the president. Is it a job that you would want?
I will do what the president wants, but I think I have the best job in D.C. We're making a lot of progress with the president's leadership. Think about it. We are going to have the tax bill on his desk by July 4th. We're going to be wrapping up the trade talks. So I think we've had great momentum, and we will be working on Chair Powell's successor over the coming weeks and months.
So, I think that's a lot of it. We see a lot of posts on Twitter saying that, Powell is going to be removed. I think that would be really bad for the markets if they removed him. I think that would be worse than if we just wait a couple more months for interest rates to eventually be cut. So Treasury Secretary Bessent says stablecoin legislation could be finalized by mid-July and expects it to boost demand for U.S. Treasuries. The same story we've been hearing all year. It's just that what he's talking about right now is the Genius Act. So I was thinking that the vote would go through this week before July. Otherwise, according to Treasury Secretary, we're thinking next week, essentially, so after the 4th of July, kind of mid-July timeframe to get the Genius Act approved. Once Congress signs off on it, it essentially just goes to the president. He signs it, and then it becomes active, and that's where we can start to see the floodgates start to open and see companies like JPMorgan, see Wells Fargo, Bank of America, all these large financial institutions will start rolling out stablecoins built on Ethereum, I believe. As we are seeing, Ethereum is the dominant platform for stablecoins, and I think that trend is going to continue. There's no reason that it won't. And in fact, what we are seeing is we're seeing like JPMorgan, they've already announced they're building on Ethereum. So, I do expect that others will follow that trend, just because in finance, you have these large financial institutions that set the standard. So you have JPMorgan coming out and saying, hey, we're going to be building on Ethereum. We have BlackRock saying that Ethereum is still the natural default choice for stablecoins, RWAs, and DeFi. So we're seeing the largest players coming out saying, hey, we're going to be building on Ethereum. The smaller players in traditional finance will follow suit. So Robinhood Europe has come out and announced that they are going to be giving away private company stock with OpenAI and SpaceX. Now, the way this works is they're still private companies, and so they're going to be issuing tokens which represent ownership in these companies, but they're not public because they aren't trading on like the NASDAQ or the NYSE, so they are still private. But it says if you're a Robinhood European customer and you qualify, you're now able to claim your tokens in the app until July 7th, so you will want to get in there and claim those tokens before the time is up. Now, they did launch a stablecoin, a layer 2 on Ethereum. That was big news today. So they'd come out and essentially Robinhood reveals layer 2 blockchain amid their major crypto expansion. So, this is something that a little bit kind of grinds my gears here. For example, it says Robinhood Markets, the popular brokerage platform bidding for traction in the cryptocurrency space, has announced the development of a layer 2 blockchain. Come on, guys, just say Ethereum Layer 2. It's so annoying seeing, and I don't know crypto.news, I have no relation to them, and maybe they don't do this all the time, but it's just so silly to me whenever they purposely replace, it should be Layer 2 Ethereum, not blockchain. It's almost as if these media firms go purposely out of their way to exclude talking about Ethereum. They'll say Layer 2, but they won't say, well, what do you mean Layer 2? Layer 2 of what? It's an Ethereum Layer 2. So it is just kind of funny that we see this trend a lot in media, and I'm not attacking crypto.news directly. I'm speaking in general. There's a trend where they just, oh, we don't want to talk about Ethereum. No. Oh, yeah, sure, it's building a Layer 2, but no, we don't want to say Ethereum, I wonder who's paying them to prevent people from saying Ethereum. Anyway, so that's the news today. It's a lot of really bullish news. So very exciting time to be an Ethereum investor. So I feel like I'm running out of things to say here. So until next time, you have any questions, drop in the comment section down below. Talk to y'all soon.